Now, the next part is the implementation plan. Now, for the implementation plan, to start things off, the most important part is to get into contact with the other student staffs, the teachers, and as well as the principal, right? Everyone's going to play a part in this if we want it to run smooth. Now, me and the student volunteers, we all have a plan in mind. We all have a goal in common, right? Especially the CGS students. We've all came together and we've all spoken about this experience. I would find not being the most suitable placement for us because we just feel like it's not giving us the most direction in terms of finding a career or just reaching our learning goals. And we've also talked to our professors about this. So right off the bat, we already have a goal in mind that we want to achieve. For this implementation plan to work, we should communicate with the teachers and principals because they will play a hand because the principals will be the ones to send out announcements. The teachers will be the ones to send out emails to their students' parents. The principal may also do that as well. And the teachers also need to inform their students on the day of the assembly so they can be prepared to answer questions and participate, and also ensure that nobody is skipping since this is very important. Also, another way of implementing social justice in the school is by sitting with students one-on-one. And what I mean by that is, so during lunch break, sometimes I would walk outside and I'd communicate with students. And sometimes they would come up to me and ask me any tip for conflict. They would tell me they were going through some conflict with someone and they just didn't know how to deal with it. And it gave me an opportunity to, apply what I've learned from the conflict management. And I would tell them a couple of de-escalation techniques. One of them example being the STLC approach, right? It's a stop, think, listen, communicate approach. And I would kind of just explain it to them and how to go on about it. And I feel like if they're able to take that with them, the STLC approach, they can not only build their conflict resolution style, but also build interpersonal skills while at it, since they're forming a new relationship, right, and ending the conflict. So I feel like that's also a great opportunity to apply the social justice aspect by using the lunchtime and interacting with students one-on-one. The monitoring and evaluation aspect of it. So for these purposes, I will check with my supervisors and colleagues about the roles they're assigned and the proposed changes. Checking with my team gives me the opportunity to retrieve feedback and also make any changes that need to be made to make the proposed changes better, right? That way I know it's effective. So this includes the roles that everyone will play, the timing, right? Since everyone has a busy schedule, it's always important to make sure that we all pick a date where everyone is available. Make sure we accommodate everyone's needs, as that's important in communication and just a team building setting. We need to make sure that all parties involved are finalized with the situation and are on board with what's going on that day. And it will be important to check in with the students after the assemblies and the workshops and ask them about their experience, right? And what they enjoyed about the assembly and the workshops and what they did enjoy and what they would like to improve, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to make this good for the students. We want to accommodate their needs, right? This is their learning environment. This is what's important for them as they, grow into teenagers and then grow into adults eventually, right? So this is a part of their learning experience. So we want to make sure that they're making the most out of this learning experience. So accommodating their needs should be our main priority. As not only CGS students, but child and youth care students and also social service students, right? And then another form of evaluation to check in with teachers around the school and ask them if they notice any behavioral changes in the classroom, right? So for example, in my classroom, I do have some troubled students, right? But if my team does an assembly and workshop where we teach about conflict management, interpersonal skills, and the importance of the youth justice system, then maybe the following week, they may have learned a valuable lesson and I may see behavioral changes. Maybe there may be less disruptions in class. Maybe there'll be less talking in class. Maybe no one will be sent out of the classroom because of talking, right? So maybe less cutoffs. So behavioral changes like that can make a difference in the classroom, right? And I can also use that as a way of tracking progress to see if the assemblies and the workshops are really effective, right? So a lack of disruptions can really make a difference. And then, like, you know, in conclusion, working at Woodbine has been a pleasure. You know, I gained a lot of leadership skills working here. I actually really enjoyed working with a lot of the kids. One of them actually made me like a birthday cover letter. They said happy birthday and then like my nickname, which was actually pretty sweet, and they also drew me like a picture. Looks like this right here. So I actually enjoy working with the kids a lot. It's actually been a pleasure. However, I do feel like there should be changes in the school curriculum, since I feel like the school curriculum doesn't really teach social justice, since it's kind of very political. You know, schools obviously teach math, English, French, science, and all those like mandatory courses that you do in the high school. I just feel like there's always a lack of social justice being taught, and I just feel like as kids are transitioning into like teenagers where they can be charged for crimes now at their age, I just feel like it's important for them to understand like things about conflict management, interpersonal skills. You know, they may think it's not important right now as they're in middle school, but as they get to high school, like I said earlier, high school is a time where you can get peer pressure. I got peer pressure in high school too, you know? So I just feel like with you being peer pressure in high school and there being a lot of bad influences in high school, I feel like it would be important for them to understand conflict management and interpersonal skills, right? Since they'll be more responsible for their actions, they'll be charged as, you know, as minors, and they won't be babysitted anymore by teachers, right? Teachers they can tell them the right things to do, but they won't be telling them every single time, right? So I just feel like it would be important for them to at least take this with them in middle school so they can apply it in high school, right? And maybe they can teach someone else coming to high school the following years. So I just feel like it would be important for them to learn these terms of social justice analysis. I feel like it will just benefit them in the long run, and also it will benefit them in a workplace, and it will benefit them in a college and a university when they have to work with their colleagues and team projects. Managing conflict management and interpersonal skills can take them a long way. So, you know, that's my presentation. The Q&A is coming right up after this segment. So for the Q&A, I know it's a black screen right now, but I have two questions for my Q&A. I feel like these are two common questions that may be asked. The first one was, what are some challenges you might face while developing this change proposal? One of the biggest challenges I would face is the school's approval. The reason why I say this is because the school board may feel uncomfortable due to the fact that social justice isn't mandatory in the school curriculum, because when we look at the school curriculum, it's mainly mathematics being taught, sciences, English, French, but not really social justice. And the reason for this is I feel like it's maybe a little bit too political to incorporate in the school system, and also the transition isn't something that the school board is used to. So that's the reason why I feel like principals and teachers may be a little bit uncomfortable with it. But this is ultimately why communication will be important with teachers and principals if my change proposal were to work. The next part of my question for the Q&A is, what are your inspiration in this proposal? So my inspiration comes from my experience thus far in the school board. To emphasize further on this, my experience so far has been just working with grade 6 and grade 8 students, and I just help them out with mathematics, their science work, their French, their language arts. I walk them around their next classes. I ensure there's no conflict in the classroom. I ensure they're respecting their teachers, not judging their classmates, by appearance or the answers they give in specific subjects. So that's been my experience as of Woodbine so far. And also witnessing conflict in the school hallways has also been an inspiration, because I feel like after I witnessed conflict happening in the hallways and how it was kind of treated poorly and handled not in a way where it's effective or it can lead to conflict resolution, it kind of led to this whole idea of this change proposal that I developed, where I'd want to incorporate more conflict management techniques and interpersonal skills into the school board, right? So seeing conflict in the hallways not being handled properly, and also my experience at Woodbine where I feel like I've just not been using my CJS courses. I just feel like they haven't been put to use the right way. So I feel like a mix of those two combinations is why I developed this proposal, and that was my main inspiration.